Hey everybody, welcome to week 16, I think. Let's call it week 16. You and me will just call it week 16. And if it's not, that's just what we're calling it. I hope you guys had a good week. We had a nice, fun little weekend adventure. Normally, this time of year, we're out trying to hit the pumpkin patch and the corn maze and all that kind of stuff. And those tend to be fairly densely populated situations with people that you don't know and that kind of thing. And with COVID being what it is right now, and our friends in the medical profession telling us what they're telling us, we decided we might bypass that. And that was made a lot easier by finding a new thing to do. My wife found, I think it was an article or something, about a group of houses kind of near us that really like did up the Halloween decorations big. And a few of them even had that thing where you could tune your car radio to a certain station and the lights would sync up to the music. And that's great if you want to hear the Ghostbusters song 13 times, which I did, and it was awesome. And any chance to think about Ghostbusters. I miss movies like that. Like funny, but weird, but just funny. Bill Murray, man. So we did that, and it was a lot of fun. And it was totally family friendly as advertised, though we were a bit nervous because we have been wronged a few times in the past by people claiming something was kid friendly when it most certainly was not. Notably, that show Stranger Things came out when our son was like 7, and we wanted to watch it, and we asked some friends like, hey, is it something Ollie would like? And they said, oh yeah, it's totally kid friendly. And present Christopher can look back at past Christopher and scream across time, those people don't have kids, don't listen to their opinion. But I did, because back then I was dumb. Today I am wise. So we took the advice of a few people that said, oh, Stranger Things is totally kid friendly. And we made it like halfway through the first episode about a kid roughly my son's age getting abducted by like some kind of demon and taken to this place of torment, and everyone's crying and screaming and scared. And I think the second my kid saw one of the creatures or whatever they were, it was over. And we knew right then bedtime is going to take a while tonight. But, you know, now he's 11 and he likes Stranger Things, and that's cool. There's people outside delivering packages. The other time that we were like terribly, horribly led astray by someone with a claim that something would be kid friendly, I played this fall festival. It was really nice. It wasn't a Halloween thing. It was like a fall festival. I love Halloween, by the way. I love getting the Dickens scared out of me. How dad was that? The Dickens scared Pertinier right out of me. Maximum dad. There should be like an alarm, like a button I can push on the podcast that like a siren goes off and just goes, dad, 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 when I say scare the Dickens out of me, or things like it. I think once I said tickled pink on the podcast, which is actually kind of disgusting when you think about it. I don't even know what that means. It's like a horse apiece. What does that mean? We chopping up a horse? Okay. So when people say flesh it out, when you really break that down, like, I don't know what that means, but it sounds pretty gross. It's fleshed out. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. Let's not make this a podcast about all the sayings people say that I think deep down are disgusting. But the other time that we were led horribly astray was at this fall festival. We get there, it's just nice. There's pumpkins, there's cider, there's me playing folk music, there's kids running around, and there's food, and it's just nice. Not a spooky sight to be seen. So we're getting ready to leave because the sun is setting, and I'm packing up, and the guy who put it on comes up to me and he says, are you guys going to do the haunted hayride? And I said, no. And he said, why not? And I said, because we got a little dude. At the time, he was like 4 or 5. He was very young. And he goes, oh no, It's totally kid friendly. It's totally family friendly. The kids love it. It's a blast. You just kind of ride around in this wagon. It's a lot of fun. And I said, oh, all right then, because I have no reason not to trust this guy. Present Christopher can scream back at past Christopher across time and go, the fact that you don't even know his name is plenty of reason not to trust this guy. But instead, I said to the missus, I said, hey, we should do this haunted hayride. And she says to me, she says, we have a 4-year-old. We shouldn't do the haunted hayride. And I says to her, it's totally kid friendly. It's totally family friendly. It's just fun. You just ride around on this wagon. And she said, okay, because she trusted me. And I'm sure present day Tori could scream back across time at past Tori and go, he's an idiot. He probably learned this information from a guy whose name he doesn't even know. Don't trust him. But at the time, she went with it. So we start walking towards the wagon. You just walk down this path to the haunted hayride. And we got, I'm serious, like 5 feet down this path. It was a comically short amount of time before a man with a hockey mask and a chainsaw came flying out of the woods, revving the chainsaw and pointing it at my 4-year-old son. And it just, you can imagine what happened. He starts crying. I start like, am I going to have an interaction with this dude with the chainsaw? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, what are you coming at a 4-year-old with a chainsaw? But instead, Tori had the presence of mind, like, let's just remove ourselves from the situation and try to calm our kid down. So we just left. We're driving home, and I'm trying to make my son laugh about it. And it's literally, I've spent every day since then thinking, like, what an idiot that guy was to say, like, it's totally kid friendly. And it just occurred to me in real time right now, what if it was totally kid friendly and that was an actual guy with a chainsaw? And instead of telling anybody or warning anybody, I just told him to go to hell and left. And then there was some massacre in the woods that day that I could have stopped, but I didn't. All that to say, we had a good week. Let's have some coffee. In the Hey Everybody mug. Oh, that's good coffee. The other thing that made my week good was a lot of great music came out, and there was even some good like musical news. I learned there's a new Gorillaz record. I'm very excited about that. The Beastie Boys let Joe Biden use a song in one of his ads, which I thought was awesome because I love the Beastie Boys, because I'm a human being with ears and a heart. And I voted for Joe Biden. And I thought it was great. What I thought was really strange, and you guys probably saw this, is there were all these ads from like reputable news sources, especially like music magazines and stuff, saying that the Beastie Boys never let anybody use their music in ads, and they let Joe Biden use one. That's news. And I'm sitting here going like, well, it's not true. Because I know for a fact that the song Sabotage has been used a handful of times. It is accurate to say that the Beastie Boys very rarely let people use their music in ads, but it has been done pretty notably. Like in one video game my son plays, there's a commercial for it that was very popular, and I guess in the trailers for the new Star Trek movies, they used the same song. They used Sabotage. And I'm sitting here going like, in an era where everyone is screaming about fake news, I think it becomes more important that you don't write a headline like that. I understand, like in the grand scheme of things, it's a little deal. But it was a big deal to me for 2 reasons. One, I had to spend the whole day thinking like, am I going crazy? Because I could have sworn in that video game commercial they played Sabotage. And wasn't there the Star Trek thing? I could have sworn, but I'm reading all these headlines. And then when I confirmed that they had used it, I just started feeling like, in a world where I'm going out into the middle ground and trying to bring people over to the lovey, liberal left, it makes my life a lot harder when you write bogus headlines like that. Because people that want to think that everything's fake and everything's a lie and you can't trust anybody but this one guy who's telling us the truth and he's going to save us all, they will use little provable things like the Beastie Boys headline to make bigger claims about how everything is, whatever. And that's frustrating, especially when, like, it would have been a good enough headline to just go, Joe Biden just dropped this great ad with this amazing song in it. Can you believe it? It's awesome. I would have liked that. They should have done that. It's just another one of the ways that if I was in charge, things would be better. At least the commercials would be better. I can't say everything would be better. Some things would probably be worse. But things that were marketed as kid-friendly, you could be damn sure would be kid-friendly. You guys noticed that I've been dropping the occasional swear here on the podcast, even though I'm trying not to? The problem is, I have to choose between the occasional swear or constantly saying because the occasional swear is just how my brain kind of buffers. And in the absence of the occasional swear, you get and that's probably annoying. Excuse me. The other fun musical news, we got a new Springsteen record, and it is phenomenal. It's tremendous. It's one of my favorites it's so good. And I was reading a lot of press around it and magazine articles, and we'll talk about the record later, but I got real excited about, there's a documentary that goes with the record, and I'm trying to track down this documentary, and can I buy it? Can I rent it? Can I pay to stream it? I'm happy to pay for art. Just let me pay for this art. Come to find out, it's only available on Apple TV. And I deflate. Because it led to this really interesting conversation between my wife and myself about selling art and when art becomes a product, and can it ever be both? And if there's no supply and demand for something like a song or a documentary that just is out there and exists, especially in a digital space, how do you determine the value of it if there's not a set amount of them? And it was a really, really great conversation that kind of stretched out over a couple days, and in fact has been going on for like 10 years. Since I started actually selling CDs, I've been having that conversation with myself and with my wife and with my dad and with my friends and my crowd and my fans and all that kind of stuff. And I can't figure it. I can't figure if you're Bruce Springsteen, well, he works for Apple now as a salesman, trying to get you to subscribe to Apple TV. Maybe, I don't know. I'm totally open to the idea that there was something going on behind the scenes, that like Apple TV actually made the documentary, so it wasn't even up to Bruce or something. But I am hard pressed to believe that when you're Bruce Springsteen, there's anything out of your control. You're the boss, man. Start bossing people around. So now I'm forced to reckon with the decision of, do I get yet another subscription to yet another streaming service that will of course be underused to see this one documentary? And I'm sure there's great stuff on there. And that's another side of it. You got to pay for Apple TV so they can make good stuff like Springsteen documentaries and that kind of thing. And it's one of the many ways that commerce interacts with creativity in a way that just really complicates things, but has to happen, Certainly I find myself in that position all the time. Like, I really just want to make stuff that I'm proud of, that makes people feel good. That's basically the mission statement here. But I also need to make sandwiches for my kid. And so the stuff I make, I have to sell that stuff. And increasingly in COVID world, the stuff you make is less and less sellable. Like, I don't know exactly how to sell a podcast. Or, I've written a handful of things this month that I just posted on Facebook, like essays and things that got hundreds of likes and tons of shares. But I don't know how to turn that into a commodity that helps me pay my rent, So it's tricky and it's weird, and it's just an interesting conversation to have. It's certainly not me going like, can you believe Bruce Springsteen did this? I hate Bruce Springsteen. I hate those people. I call that pooping on my pancakes. Like, I'm all excited about something and then someone comes along and poops on my pancakes. I'm not into that. That happened a few times this week too, where like, I'll share something. Like, if I write a song or a poem or something what went into that behind the scenes, first, right off the top, is 37 years of living. Wins and losses and highs and lows and sadness and happiness and triumphs and tragedy and all that stuff. Then I had to learn an instrument. I had to learn how to be a writer. I had to write 100 songs before I got to that song. And I believe all that stuff played into the writing of this song. And then I wrote that song, and maybe I did multiple drafts of it. And maybe like the song I'm going to play for you today, it hung around for like 5 years before it finally found a place where it could come out. And I finally write this thing, and I edit it, and I make it look just how I want it to look, and I change out this word for that word, and it's just so, and I put it online, and some idiot who's probably on the toilet somewhere goes, I don't like it. And I'm just going, this interaction seems disproportionate. It seems like I'm doing a lot of the heavy lifting here, and you're just going, nah. And almost worse is when you post like, oh my gosh, I really like such and such a thing. I really like this book. I really like this movie. And someone goes, I hated it. And I used to do that, but I'm wise now. You'll see, now that the snow's falling, this beard's gonna get long, and I'll look like a wizard. Or a Viking, or just some guy that probably doesn't have a job. But I just like, why can't I just enjoy it? What do you get out of coming by and just going, no, that record sucked? Like, how's your band doing? That's something we say a lot around here. Anytime someone critiques something, it's just like, and how's your band doing? You know? Or we'll watch a movie review, and he'll be talking about like Trolls, and he'll go, I thought it was kind of derivative of blah. And we just go, yeah? How was your movie? Oh, you didn't make a movie? Okay. But I have had to deal with a fair amount of that stuff somewhat recently. And maybe I'm just noticing it more as I get old, and I'm making a concerted effort to enjoy more stuff. Like I said, we've been watching Saturday Night Live. And very often, most of the time, the musical guest is not quite my speed. But I actively try to search for stuff like, oh, that drummer was great though. Or man, the musical guest last week was called Her, and it was good. It just wasn't like my thing. But I watched both performances, and in the second performance, my God, this woman, she ripped a guitar solo that I could never in a million years pull off, and it was phenomenal. And then I went on Facebook, and a bunch of people were like, oh, she's so great. And I didn't get in the comments and go like, I didn't care for it. Because who cares? Nobody, nobody cares what you don't like, is my new theory. They barely care what you do like. But if they're going to listen to you, I'm sure they'd much rather hear like, talk about what you enjoy. Talk about what excites you. Share something worth sharing, rather than trying to talk someone out of what they like. It's ridiculous. That was a very dad rant. That was a very old man. These kids, they don't know how to find joy in things. Although, I think trying to find joy in things is one of the ways we keep the old man from taking over. I feel him in there. I feel the old man in there trying to get his hands on the wheel of the Christopher car. And mindful, cool, in the moment Christopher is going like, no man, I got this. But every day that old bastard tries to get the wheel. And he's cranky, and he just wants to think things about other people doing things that don't affect him, and he wants to have his opinions and be heard, and it's just not necessary. What is necessary is that I play you a song. So this song is pretty old for me. It's like 5 or 6 years old, but it came out on my most recent record I did with my band. The reason for that is I wrote it and I brought it to practice for the record we were making at the time. It just didn't fit. So we put it aside, and we made 3 or 4 records that way. I'd bring this song in, the guys in the band would say, no, I like the song. I'm not sure it's the right fit for this record, or I feel like we have this other song for this record that would kind of fit where that song would go. And so the song just hung around, and I would play it once in a while, but for the most part, it just kind of hung around in my head. And then we were working on our latest record, and it was missing this kind of color. So I brought this song in, and everybody was excited, and it was great. But that to me is the story of the song now. A lot of times you write a song, and it's about what it's about, but then you live with it for like 5 or 6 years, and sometimes you even kind of forget what it's about. But other times you just kind of get used to it being about what it's about. And in your head, it becomes more about the world the song lives in. So for me, this song is a reminder to like write every song. And if it doesn't come out on the record, it doesn't go in the garbage. It doesn't make it a bad song. And it's good that you wrote that song. It might find a home somewhere someday. The other funny thing just in my head about this song is it's one of my most, especially when I play it with the band, it's one of our most like country sounding songs. Not modern country, because it's not about my car or my jeans. But like a kind of an alt country vibe when we play it. But the funny thing is, to me in my head, this song is very connected to a punk band called Anti-Flag that I like a lot. Just because the spark for the song came from the bass player and the guitar player, incidentally, for Anti-Flag. They had this other band for a while called White Wives that I like a lot too. And I read this interview with the dude from Anti-Flag, and they were asking like, is it easier to start a new band when you have this other band that's pretty popular? And he said yes and no, because people will check it out because they know your old band, but your new band doesn't sound like your old band, and they might expect it to. So they might come into it with unreasonable expectations. So I guess it's kind of like a kiss and a curse. And I read that maybe like a decade ago. It was a decade ago. And I held on to that phrase for like 5 or 6 years, and then wrote this song, and then held on to the song for another 5 years, and then it finally came out. So now my band and I, we have this shuffly country song that to me is very connected to a great political punk band called Anti-Flag. And I will play it for you now. It's called A Kiss and a Curse, and it goes like this. Well, send me off with a kiss and a curse. I ain't been back since. Well, a heart once broken, always quicker to hurt. I won't be coming home again. I won't be coming home again. Tell me again, where you been? I've been calling out for you. Well, this salvation got me missing the sin, and I don't know what to do. Just keep moving. In the last few years, trying to clear my dirty lungs, just trying to clear my name. But in my dreams, I'm in the sky, I see that place from above. Something don't look the same. Something don't look the same. Tell me again, where you been? I've been calling out for you. This salvation got me missing the sin, and I don't know what to do. Just keep moving. All right, thank you. That just keep moving bit is important to me. It's the older I get, the more I see the value of time passing. There are so many things that I worked real hard on when I was younger and pushed real hard against, that one day I just kind of felt kind of break through. And the only ingredient that I couldn't add when I was 25 was time. You know, I think just keep moving and trust that some things will just work out, and one day some things will make sense, and a lot of things still won't, but you'll get there. And it's an impossible thing to understand when you're young, I think. And it's the only thing I would tell a younger person is, like, sometimes you just gotta wait. Stuff's hard and it'll get better. Or it'll at least make more sense, you know. All right, let's get to some recommendations. First, obviously, of course, most definitely, we got the man, the boss, Bruce Springsteen. This record is called Letter to You, and it is tremendous. The story behind this record is great. Bruce is in his 70s now, and in addition to that, the writing of this record was kind of inspired by the fact that recently Bruce became the last surviving member of his first band. Because, you know, time does what it does, and the rest of those gentlemen passed away. So he had kind of death on his mind, and in 6 days, he wrote the songs for this record. There are a few songs that he wrote in like his 20s, but all the new ones he wrote in 6 days. And then he recorded it with the E Street Band live in like 4 days. And it is just brimming with energy, and it's tremendous. It's so good. It's hard to pick a song to recommend to you, but I'll hit you with track 3 is called Janey Needs a Shooter, because it was my wife's favorite. My favorite is probably If I Was the Priest, or Ghosts, or 1 Minute You're Here. Oh my goodness gracious. It's so good. Oh, looks like Janey Needs a Shooter is track 4. All right. But it's fantastic. Can't recommend it enough. I love it. And if you have Apple TV, there's a documentary. Apparently I work for them too now, and I'm you know what? Moving right along. Next we have Gillian Welch and David Rawlings. This is called All the Good Times Are Past and Gone. In the digital world, it's called All the Good Times. But in this world, as you see on the cover, it's called All the Good Times Are Past and Gone. And what this is in the height of their quarantine, these two American treasures sat down in their living room with a tape machine, and they recorded these songs. There's traditional songs and cover songs, and there's a John Prine song and some Bob Dylan stuff and some Norman Blake stuff, and it's great. And this is hand-packaged vinyl that they stamped and cut themselves, and it's wonderful. I would say check out the title track, All the Good Times Are Past and Gone, or Abandoned Love, their Bob Dylan song. It's really good. But this is perfect for, it snowed here last night, and I put it on, and Tori commented, like, this is perfect to have playing when it's kind of cold outside and there's snow on the ground, and highly recommend. Finally, we have a book recommendation, because I know I don't look like someone who reads, but I do from time to time if the words are small enough. This is called Bright's Passage, and it's written by Josh Ritter. And if you're a fan of tremendous songwriting, yes, that Josh Ritter. Josh Ritter is mostly a musician, and mostly one of the best living lyricists on the planet. I don't know where else a living lyricist would be besides on the planet, but maybe, I don't know, maybe aliens have songs. They probably have songs. This book is tremendous. I finally finished it. There was a time where I believed this book to be cursed because I got this book, I tried to read it, and I got 2 chapters in, and our son had a medical issue that was very scary and serious at the time, and I stopped reading the book. And then I started reading the book again like a year later, and a loved one passed away. And I just started looking at this book going, what are you doing? And I don't believe in any of that stuff. But I ended up not reading the book. And then finally I got around to it last week, and everybody survived, I think. And it's tremendous. I really love this book. It's a joy to read, but the plot is kind of complicated. It's about a guy named Henry Bright who fights in World War I. Excuse me. And while he's over there, he encounters this angel. And he comes back home after being protected by the angel. And the angel is now in his horse. And it follows the story of Henry Bright, per this angel's commands, doing a few things that sort of start making his life pretty bad. And they have this very kind of often humorous dislike for each other. And it's happy and it's sad and it's funny, and it's written by a tremendous writer. So I highly recommend it. But if you're not a reader, or if you don't have time to like just sit and read a book, check this out, what I found on his website. It's the audiobook read by Josh Ritter. And it's great. And it's 5 CDs with like a score, which I really like. Like you'll get music and stuff at the beginning and ends of chapters and things like that. And you also get a bonus disc of him performing live at a bookstore. And Chris Thiele features on that. He's like if you don't know who Chris Thiele is, he's arguably the best mandolin player alive, and certainly a genius. And but the cool thing is, if you go to joshritter.com, you can get this very nice package of 6 CDs for $5, and you can support a great artist and that kind of thing. As always, I'll give you some links to all this stuff. Sorry we went a little bit long, but I just, I like hanging out with you guys. I think you're good people. If you enjoy the podcast, it helps me a ton if you share it. And if you want to donate to the podcast, which I guess is to me, the Sandwich and String Fund, we'll call it. There's links to do that too, and I really appreciate everybody who has. You've made a very uncertain time, if not more certain, at least less terrifying. So we'll be back next week with a song and some stories and some fun and some recommendations. And SNL this week is hosted by John Mulaney, musical guest The Strokes. So watch that, and we'll talk about it next week. And in the meantime, between now and then, be good. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Drink good coffee and buy a fun mug. We'll talk soon. Bye.